Hello, welcome to Messaging Topology Operator demo. In this demo, we will see how we can use the operator to create RabbitMQ objects in a RabbitMQ cluster. Before we can start using the Messaging Topology operator, we need a running Kubernetes cluster that we have access to and the RabbitMQ cluster operator installed. Let's take a look of my environment. So here I have the cluster operator and the messaging topology operator installed. And this is the RabbitMQ cluster I'll be using for this demo. We can take a look of the manifest I used as well. It's a 3-node HA RabbitMQ cluster with the name demo. Let's inspect the cluster. There is 0 queue, only the default user, default VHost, and no policy created. Why don't we start by creating a VHost? Here's the manifest. Let's do a kubectl apply. We can check whether or not the VHost object was successfully created by inspecting its events and status. All looks good. Let's come back to the management UI. That's the VHost. I'm creating a VHost here for demonstration. If you want to keep using the default VHost, that's fine as well. Since this is a 3-node HA RabbitMQ cluster, why don't we try to create a Quorum queue? Here's the Quorum queue manifest I will be using. Name of the queue is Quorum example and created in the demo VHost. All looks good. Yeah, that's our queue. You can also create policies to configure and manage queues in groups. I have an example here for lazy queues. Let's apply it. So it's going to create a policy with lazy queue policy as the name and lazy queue example as the queue name. Let's take a look of the management UI. Now we see the lazy queue example queue with the policy applied. Now let's create a user. I am not providing the username and a password for this user, so the operator is going to generate that credential for me. To access the credential for this user, we need to check the status. In the status, it will link to a Kubernetes secret object. We can decode the username and password, like so. Can also decode the password. And that's our user. To delete any of the objects that we have just created, you can delete it like deleting any Kubernetes resource. Let's get rid of the queues. Just deleted the Quorum queue example. We can also delete the lazy queue example. The operator receives the deletion request and is gonna clean up the objects in your RabbitMQ cluster. So let's come back, there's no queue left. Other than checking the status and events for those objects, if you would like to debug, you can also inspect the logs for the messaging topology operator. All requests like create, update, and delete are all logged in here. Other than the users, VHost, and queues that we have just saw, the messaging topology operator can also create objects like exchanges, bindings, and assign permissions to an existing user. Any of the examples that I've used can be found in the repo itself. There's a bunch of examples in the GitHub repo. I highly recommend you to check that out. For any feedback for the product, please reach out to the team, or you can create GitHub issues directly in our repo as well. Thanks for your time.